Good Sunday morning to you, coming to you from the banks of the Ohio River in Great America Ballpark. I'm D. Jackson, getting set for the 2015 All-Star Game. Well, good evening to you. It has already been an extremely long football season for KU fans, but with every practice and every game, the Jayhawks seem to make steady strides toward the week's goal. He's an NFL All-Pro, but Eric Berry just accomplished the biggest fight of his life. But with his support staff in place, he's making big strides toward getting back to the NFL. The Royals trying to get into their fourth ever World Series. And Frank, you were here at 85 covering that series. And that generation of Royals fans were used to winning, coming up through the 70s and in 1980 going to the World Series and back in 85. Now we got a whole new generation of Royals fans who really don't know much about the winning. Of course, they had last year and this year. Have you noticed a difference between those two generations of Royals fans from the 80s and the ones from today? Hockey in Independence has always had a great following, but now that the Missouri Mavericks have an NHL affiliation with the New York Islanders, the interest in the team is, well, through the roof.
D. Jackson.
You know, Sonny was actually underneath my desk and scared the life out of me. I'm not kidding. I was like, what is this nibbling at my feet? Big time hustle today. You on first base, you just keep running. I thought Jersey's arm was going to pop out of sight. This could be one of the greatest turnarounds in franchise history. After losing 5 straight, the Chiefs have now won their 5th in a row. You know, when Pinkel was hired 15 years ago, it was not the most popular pick with fans and alums, but he's since turned those opinions around. Well, good evening to you. After an emotional win last week against BYU, Mizzou found itself front and center, rallying around Coach Gary Pinkel, who announced he would be stepping down at the end of the year. 2 regular season games to go, and the Tigers hoping to bring the noise for Pinkel's final home game. Mizzou hosting Tennessee. It was an emotional night for Gary Pinkel, who was coaching in that final game at home. It didn't start off well for the Tigers. The Vols took a 16-0 lead behind this 8-yard touchdown run by quarterback Josh Dobbs. To the fourth quarter now. Mizzou was down 19-0, but quarterback Drew Lock stretches out and finds the end zone from 2 yards out. Then Lock lofts the ball up into the end zone to Jason Reese, who scores on the 2-point conversion. Things were looking pretty good, but that's as good as it got. Not the night for Coach Pinkel and his crew. Mizzou falls 19-8 to the Volunteers. The Tigers have one more regular season game this Friday afternoon in Arkansas. That'll start at 1:30. If they can win that game, there's a chance Gary Pinkel will get to coach in his last bowl game ever. But nevertheless, he was still disappointed afterwards.
It's awesome. My kids are great. I just don't like losing. So, I mean, it's, you know, bittersweet. But love my players, and I think they love me too. And just didn't want it to end like this. Just focus on a football game. So, just want to win a game. So that's what I'm out here for, win football games.
Well, Bill Snyder's teams have had their backs up against the wall before, and traditionally, Iowa State has always given the Wildcats a run for their money. This afternoon in Manhattan, K-State showed exactly what can happen when the family sticks together. Wildcats facing a very gritty Cyclones team. K-State was behind for most of this game. They were down 21-7 midway through the second quarter when Morgan Burns, burning it up, gives the team and the stadium some life. Burns runs the kickoff back 102 yards for the touchdown. But the Wildcats would find themselves down 35-14 at halftime. K-State made a charge in the fourth quarter. Charles Jones scores from 5 yards out, ties the game up at 35. And on the ensuing Iowa State possession, the Wildcat defense comes up big. Markel Bryant gets the strip and the sack. Moore recovers the fumble deep in K-State territory. And with 3 seconds left on the clock, tick-tock, there it goes. Kicker Jack Cantel wins it for K-State on a 42-yard field goal. Cats pick up their first conference win of the season, 38-35, improving to 4-6 overall. Joe Huebner finished the day with 216 yards passing, but it was that never-say-die attitude from the Cats that Coach Snyder loved the most, as well as making the most of those turnovers.
They enjoyed the daylights out of it. I told them in the locker room, I've been here for, you know, a couple hundred years, and I have never seen, you know, our locker room, you know, no offense to anybody that we play, but, you know, under the circumstances, you know, a lot of times we always say, you know, act like you've been there before. We didn't act like we'd been there before, but they needed that, and so it was good. They were excited about it.
Steady improvements are what the KU coaching staff continue to report to everyone, but ever since the team lost its starting quarterback Michael Cummings in the spring game, things haven't looked good for the Jayhawks, who competed well last week against TCU, but things got kind of ugly in Lawrence this afternoon. Kansas hosting West Virginia. The Mountaineers running back Rochelle Shell scores from 8 yards out. That made it 7-0. The Jayhawks were down 42-0 at halftime. Not very many highlights from today, though. They did, however, pick off a couple of passes, though. This is Michael Glatz intercepts this ball, floated up in the middle of the field. Howard runs it back 15 yards on the play. Then it's Derek Neal, who gets an interception of his own in the fourth quarter, but just not many bright spots at all. K-State, or KU, I should say, takes it on the chin, 49-0. Jayhawks still looking for their first win of the year and running out of time. An anemic offense in Lawrence this afternoon that couldn't find the end zone or get in field goal range, and they couldn't keep the chains moving at all, which has become a big problem.
It is what it is. I mean, we didn't get a first down until midway through the third quarter. That's very disappointing, and that's down to me. It always comes back to me, and I've got to find a way to get that fixed, because right now we're not very productive on the offensive side of the ball.
The Shockers' Ron Baker had 23 points, and, Wichita State built a 25-point halftime lead to cruise past NCAA Division II Emporia State, 76-54. And also, UMKC on the road tonight taking on Drake, and get this, they had that hotline bling working. 79-73 was the final score. Congratulations to the UMKC Roos. That's as close as I'm going to get to singing Drake's songs tonight.
I know, you said you were going to do NSYNC, and I didn't hear it.
We're running out of time. So
right.
What can you do? Live TV, it's just tough.
I'll sing something.
Kauffman Stadium has a long reputation for being the crown jewel in the big leagues. And for those who work at the stadium, it can be a pretty cool gig.
I actually got to talk to a couple of players. It's very unique experience. It's not like most jobs.
18-year-old Maurice Bruce just finished his rookie season on the Royals grounds crew, becoming the third generation of his family to keep the field looking its best.
Started off with my dad. He started all the Bruces out here. He's the oldest one out of all of them. He started down there, down at the old stadium down on Brooklyn. My dad worked out here. My uncle actually works out here. He's an assistant groundskeeper. A lot of people worked out here, so I feel like I'll just follow the tradition.
But Bruce has even bigger aspirations. As one of the top-ranked center fielders in the area, he just signed a letter of intent to play for Johnson County Community College. And someday, he plans to continue another family tradition, turning pro, just like his dad.
It's something I've always wanted to do. I've seen my dad do it, so I always want to follow his footsteps. And baseball is just a really exciting thing to me.
And to be able to one day play on the very field at Kauffman Stadium would be a dream come true for the entire family.
That's what he really would love to do. That's his passion, always been his dream since he was a kid.
That'd be a great feeling for me, like just having a great memory of working out here, from coming from a worker to a player, and just be a great transition for me.
I'll be that proud father just like I am when I'm watching play summer ball. I'll just sit back there and just probably tear up a little bit just knowing that I put him through all that, all the hard work that I did for him, and it really paid off to see him out there, man. It'll be a true blessing to see him out on the next level.
Have you ever dreamed of entering the squared circle? Do you have visions of wrestling in front of millions of people live and on television? Then Extreme Wrestling Center in Raytown may be the place for you.
Our head trainer, David Catton, has done a great job in training professional wrestlers at the school.
He's smooth as satin David Catton, and he's turning these athletes into finely tuned wrestling machines. But in order to have any type of success, they say you have to be more than just a ring technician.
Developing your character is probably the most important thing about professional wrestling. Your accolades definitely help you, what you do. On the physical side of wrestling, it definitely helps, but if you can't sell yourself on the camera, you're not going to be marketable.
But when it comes to the mix of pure athleticism and charisma, XWC graduates, the Regal Twins, may be a double dose of the complete package.
Immense amount of training in here. We came 4 or 5 days a week in here and just just learned. You just got to learn. You got to be a student of the game.
And it seems that local promoters can't get enough of the Regals.
They've gone out and they've gone on several events since they've started training here, and since they've graduated, they've gone on to get local exposure with a lot of promotions. Promoters are wanting to have them back.
It's one thing to go out there and get booked, but to constantly keep getting bookings is another thing, because you have to show them that you can work, you are a good worker, you are good in the ring. So being able to come here 5 days a week and just get as much ring time as you want has really helped us.
The road to the big time starts in Raytown, and these wrestlers are already on their way to slamming success. D. Jackson, 41 Action News.